Next on Arizona 360, the vision for a more safe and successful University of Arizona.
Those things come from the top and they have to be important.
Getting a better sense of allegations leveled against the U of A.
I've had victims approach me and reach out to tell their stories.
Plus, introducing you to the candidates running for governor.
I'm running because the truth matters and we're not being told the truth in some very critical areas.
The people who are running our state government are not putting the people of Arizona first.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you so much for joining us. As the University of Arizona prepares for a new school year, this week we checked in with President Robert Robbins. Among the topics we covered, how his administration is addressing claims of misconduct directed at the University of Arizona and its athletic department, and how he plans to improve academic success among students. Our conversation begins with his views about growth at the U of A.
You know, there are ABOR goals that look out to 2025 or 2030, and the projected growth of the university to, let's call it 55,000 students from where we are, is something I inherited. I don't necessarily buy into that that's what we should be doing. We're in the middle of a strategic planning process, and I think that we'll reevaluate through this process what our goals for growth are.
When President Robbins arrived at the university last year, he called for a new strategic plan that Robbins says addresses economic development, research efforts, and how to run the U of A more efficiently. Robbins says nearly 10,000 people have offered feedback so far.
If there's one thing we can accomplish, it's to focus on student success. Our rankings in the U.S. News & World Report are 124. Our research ranking and reputation and expenditure puts us in the top 35 and top 25 public institutions, yet our student success metrics are at 172. That is not good enough. We have a third of our students that come into the university who are not prepared for math, and we have to send them to a remedial math program. There's a problem for me there. I think there are other pathways that we could potentially help students get to the ultimate goal of getting a university degree. We need to develop programs to help them be better prepared, and of course we need to be involved and engaged with the local school systems. And if you had to invest in one thing, it would be early childhood development. And so how does the university help do that? And I think our College of Education is really engaged with the community and helping with that. But this is a national problem that we need to work on and have a national dialogue about the investment in education.
You mentioned quality students. That means perhaps being a bit more selective in the
Yes.
students who come here. You would like to not go over the 55,000 in enrollment. Does that mean that we could see students being turned away potentially if they don't meet our criteria?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that'll be very controversial because of the issue of access. But I think that I am very committed to working with Chancellor Lee Lambert at Pima, also with the Chancellor of Maricopa Community Colleges.
How do you anticipate that'll go over with the public in Arizona? So many families that have plans for their kids to go to the University of Arizona one day.
Well, I think we can get them there. I think there'll be a way to accommodate everyone, and it doesn't mean that they can't come to the University of Arizona, but they've got to work their way up, because the last thing we want them to do is to come here and fail.
Our conversation then turned to the university's response to issues concerning Title IX, a federal law that protects people from discrimination or harassment based on their sex. The university has been in the national spotlight for a variety of negative reasons. You've instituted some new policies, plans in place to ensure that the university heads in a different direction, to create a safer environment for the students and staff. Tell me a bit about that planning to get to a place where you feel that the university would be in a respectable position.
Being a heart surgeon, I know that if a patient gets to me, we've missed many opportunities along the way to prevent disease from having to be intervened on. And so I see that every time we have an issue with relationship violence or sexual harassment or violence, that we've missed on preventing that. So we're going to be very, very focused on a program that will reorganize our Title IX efforts, and I would even say our Title VII discrimination efforts, that to proactively go out and educate and keep this on the front burner of something that we're talking about. You've got to have a mindset that it's important to you, just like diversity and equality. Those things come from the top, and they have to be important. If they're not important, nobody pays attention to them and nothing gets done.
Moving forward, what does the timeline look like? I know there have been some hires that have been made to try to get in front of this.
Right. Well, we hope to have a new Title IX coordinator within weeks to months. I'm finding out, as all of the great people we have who've been doing this work at the university, this is in no way a commentary on the work they've done. I think they've done a great job. The problem is, I think that we haven't given them enough resources and made it an institutional priority to invest in.
Allegations concerning sexual harassment extend to the athletics department in both the football and track programs. How do we go about regaining trust with the public and the players who are looking at this institution?
I think always it starts at the top. Having good leaders, again, a cultural issue around what we will tolerate and how we want to represent to the outside world what's important to the University of Arizona. I think Dave Hickey is our athletic director. He started a few months before I did. I think he's doing a really good job.
This week, Athletic Director Dave Hickey led a group of reporters on a tour of the university's facilities. He also explained some of his department's priorities.
These are the spaces that they spend so much time in. And it's, one, an investment in their experience. It's an investment in the programs. It helps from a recruiting perspective when you can bring people in and show the kind of commitment and investment we have. So we're trying to build national level championship programs. We have a lot of those already here, and we want to continue to be at that level.
Many of the things that were done or surfaced in this last year happened before we got here, and it culminated in this year of having some negative press. I just see that as an opportunity for us to make changes and demonstrate that we have the right values and that we're going to focus on what's really important.
If you can help me look into the future, what does 5 years look like here at the University of Arizona under your leadership?
So I think 5 years from now, we will have had the strategic plan implemented for 4 years, so we can see the first cohort of students that will, for instance, be able to take advantage of the new honors village that we're building, to be able to take advantage of all the strategic programs that we're going to be implementing to improve retention and graduation rate. We should all collectively be proud of the fact that we're one of only a few AAU universities to get the Hispanic Serving Institution designation this year. So I think that's going to help us recruit even better and more Latino and Hispanic students that will be a powerful force in helping diversity be even more important on this campus.
Higher education is not affordable for everybody. Are we potentially weeding out people when we make it so expensive?
I think particularly here in Arizona, even though the state legislature has cut funding back, it's still a lot more affordable than it is in other states. You know, if you look at what the cost is for us to educate a student, it's about $15,000. We get support from the state, but we also have a large population of out-of-state students that are paying higher tuition rates and are subsidizing in-state students. We want to have an equal playing field so that everybody has a chance to get an education at the University of Arizona and be able to afford it. So you'll see we're going to have some very edgy and progressive programs that we're looking at for the strategic planning process. Potentially a way of pay later when you're successful. We take very seriously the amount of money that's spent by students and their parents and their support network, but we believe it's a pretty good value.
President Robbins, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We wanted to understand how leadership changes at the U of A resonate with some students, along with some of their concerns. We got that insight from the presidents of the university's student-led organizations, Marie Tiemann with the Graduate and Professional Student Council, and Nadalyn Masters with the Associated Students of the U of A. One of the areas that probably does cause some difference between the two of you and your organizations is, for example, the guaranteed tuition rate program, which affects undergrads but not graduate students.
2001, resident tuition was just under $2,500, and now it's $12,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very, very important. It's a great move that the university has instilled a program in which you're guaranteed the tuition you came in with. This is particularly important for graduate students, and they need to apply that to graduate students. International students in particular have to secure their funding at home. So whatever finances that they get, whatever loans they receive in their home country, and they're not able to apply for more. But there also needs to be strides in bringing that tuition back down to a more reasonable level, because as much as we can use that as a benchmark of undergraduate resident students and that growth in the last 15 years, the reality is that historically graduate and professional student tuition increases have been a higher percentage than that of undergraduate.
And Nadalyn, despite the tuition hikes, we've still seen a steady increase of undergrads who want to come to the University of Arizona and who eventually graduate. So it's not a deterrent.
No, definitely not. And I think the guaranteed tuition kind of helps ease that burden. Is once you start at the university, you know what you're signing up for and you know what your payment's going to be each semester for the semesters that they give you. And having that gives a lot of peace of mind to students and to parents. I know a lot of parents love the idea of having all of the numbers in front of them so they can budget and plan appropriately to send their students to get that education.
Let's switch directions now. This year, the University of Arizona was in the national spotlight for a variety of reasons. Either one of you hearing from students directly saying that this is not the University of Arizona that I thought I was enrolled at?
I don't think students have taken it that far with that notion, but they definitely, with the news coming out, students are looking at administration, looking at the university to see what next steps they want to take. We're waiting to see, okay, so it happened, so what are we going to do to prevent this from the future, and how are we moving towards this identity, and how do we want to have a better image for our university?
Marie?
I think the students I've most heard those sentiments from, there tends to be an attachment to my fees and tuition is being increased, I'm not getting the benefits or the GA pay. Graduate assistants, teaching assistants, research assistants, depending on the department or the college, the amount of income vastly varies. So a lot of the times when something comes out in the news and we see how much is being paid out for those situations, there is a sentiment of, I can't make ends meet, and here's what else is happening on campus, even if the two aren't directly connected.
There's some new opportunities also coming to the University of Arizona by way of the strategic plan that Dr. Robbins plans to announce later this fall. When we talk about the growth that's coming to the University of Arizona, Dr. Robbins says we need to push the envelope a bit. He wants to be a little bit more selective with the students and gain some new levels of respect here at the university and the institution and athletics as well. Is that sentiment shared by students, or is there some fear that this university will change?
When you talk about Dr. Robbins and selecting higher quality students and ensuring that we're selecting students who are college ready, I love that sentiment, but I'm very critical of what that means for our diverse populations on campus, and what does that mean? Are we still recruiting students of color? How are we retaining them? Because that's kind of something that I personally am affected by as a woman of color on campus, and being at a predominantly white institution. I always challenge to make sure that simply because we're recruiting students, we want to make sure that we're recruiting diverse students to our campus, and we are creating that culture that allows them to flourish here.
This year, the university celebrated being named a Hispanic Serving Institute. Good step in the right direction?
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the great thing about being an HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution, is you have to reapply every single year to get that status. And so it kind of holds us to be accountable to ensure that we're putting the money and the money we get for being an HSI towards helping that group on campus.
Marie, the Graduate Professional Student Council will also be watching how this strategic plan really unfolds?
Absolutely. We've been very vocal about wanting to make sure that graduate students are named in the strategic plan. The last strategic plan, they were not. Many of the student initiatives, even in this strategic plan, as far as the drafts that I've seen or the initiatives that I've seen picked up, really apply to undergraduate students, but I know that we've been pushing and having discussions with Dr. Robbins and the strategic plan team about ensuring that graduate and professional students are considered.
Okay, my thanks to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
While the university prepares to roll out its strategic plan, investigations into alleged Title IX violations are ongoing. Few are covering the developments as closely as the Arizona Daily Star's Caitlin Schmidt. She shared how the community is responding to what she's found so far. A lot of activity here at the University of Arizona in the last year. Some new policy changes, things that are taking the university in a new direction. Have we seen any actual change at this point? Some hiring of some new people, of course.
I haven't been notified that anybody new has been hired yet. I was told they would let us know, but you know they're taking action to hire that new deputy Title IX coordinator. We have those two victim advocates that will be coming in, and then we have the one advocate for those who are accused of Title IX issues to help them navigate the system. So I'm not sure where they are with the hiring process, but the adding of the positions I think is promising.
In your work of investigating what's happening at the University of Arizona, you have found that this affects sort of the gamut from a high-level administrator down to a student.
Yes, and I mean, since I started covering these issues, I've had victims approach me and reach out to tell their stories, so people are paying attention. We're at a point right now where women are really wanting to empower themselves, and I think it's nice to see that when they run into trouble, you know, dealing with the school, getting those kinds of things handled, that they feel like they can come to reporters to get some help in airing their grievances or getting their side of the story out.
This is significant, though, because in a community of this size, a university, this institution in southern Arizona, it is unique to have so many cases in such a short span of time.
It was a lot all at once. I mean, between October and February, we had 2 federal lawsuits. We had the claim against Rich Rodriguez that has not progressed into a lawsuit, but it was still there. He was added to the Title IX lawsuit. We have the Craig Carter lawsuit. It's a lot of legal activity. It was enough so that my job as a cops reporter quickly changed to a sports investigative reporter because of how often crime and courts were overlapping with sports here at the U of A.
What does it do to the reputation of the university, or does it remain to be seen?
I think that remains to be seen. I think they've taken a hit. They're doing the right thing now. Maybe they're doing the right thing a little later than they should have, but they're doing it now, and I think it's important that everyone watches how they proceed from here on out, you know, if they're serious about this.
So earlier this week when President Robbins was here, he indicated that he and Dave Hickey had come in at a time when things had already been in motion. So they're sort of having to process things that took place under different leadership. Are the right people being held accountable now?
Greg Byrne, he's gone, but we get lots of emails and phone calls from readers asking when he is going to have to answer for this. I don't know that he ever will, but he hasn't made any kind of statements at all, and every single one of these issues happened under his watch.
Do you get the sense that perhaps the public here in southern Arizona is still skeptical of everything that's happening because it cannot be the University of Arizona?
We do, yes. I mean, there's a little bit of fan mentality with these things where I spoke to an expert about this. Sometimes people so deeply identify with their team or their school that they just can't accept when an allegation like this comes out. It's crushing to who they are as a person, so it's easier for them to deny it and say it's not real and ignore it, and that's happening a little bit here too. Nobody in Tucson is happy about this. It's not a good look, but I mean, we do need to realize that this is happening at universities all over the country. It's not unique to us. It's still a tragic situation, but it's everywhere. It's not just changes at the U of A that need to happen. It's clearly a culture change. So, as much heat as the U of A is taking, and maybe they should be taking some of that heat for some of the things that happened, they aren't the only ones.
This is not indicative of strictly the University of Arizona. It's what's happening on a national scale.
It's the university system, unfortunately. I hope that the spotlight is on the school enough at this point that these leaders are taking this seriously and they're in the thick of it, and these things won't be happening again.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. For Your Vote 2018, we're seeking interviews with all of the gubernatorial candidates who qualified for the ballot. We'll bring you those discussions over the coming weeks leading up to the primary election on August 28th. It's a field of 5. We're focusing on their views about Arizona's economy and education funding. This week, we introduce you to Republican Ken Bennet and Democrat Kelly Fryer. Starting with Bennet, a former state secretary and state senator, we asked why he's challenging incumbent Doug Ducey in the primary.
I'm running because the truth matters, and we're not being told the truth in some very critical areas. We've been told that the budget has been balanced the last 4 years, and yet the total state debt has gone up by $1 billion during those same 4 years. So if your debts are growing, I say your budgets are not balanced. We were told this last budget was passed without accounting tricks and gimmicks or a tax increase. And yet the taxes on our vehicles were raised by $90 million this year and another $180 million next year, and all kinds of other accounting tricks and gimmicks. We were told that this governor would support the repeal of Obamacare, and yet he told John McCain to vote against the repeal. He said he would support our Second Amendment rights, but he has a school safety plan that is focused on removing guns from Arizonans, and I have issued a plan to help put guns where they'll protect our students. So we're being told one thing when something else is happening. I think the people of Arizona deserve to know the truth.
On the economic side of Arizona's future, the business end of things, how do we go about keeping families here?
Well, first, we don't raise income taxes like this Invest in Ed thing purports to do. And we make sure that our school system is producing graduates that can fill the jobs in companies that are here or looking to come here and make those companies successful. We keep our tax burden low, we reduce regulations, we make Arizona a good place to do business. And that's exactly what I would want to do. During my 4 years as Senate President, we had the largest economic expansion in the history of the state. And I think part of that was because we did the largest tax cut during my 4 years as Senate President. We also put more new money into education during those 4 years. We reduced regulations. We had an across-the-board tax cut and 10% income taxes. So the formula is not a secret. I think Arizona is benefiting from a lot of the things that are happening on a national scale with the President really invigorating our economy and getting rid of rules and regulations and lowering taxes, and all those things will work in Arizona as well.
You have said you would like guns in schools.
Carried by those that are willing, competent, and capable, and trained to do so. A lot of our school personnel are former military or former law enforcement, have extensive personal firearms training, and if those are willing to do so, then yes, those would be our staff are going to be the first line of defense protecting our students, whether they're all unarmed or whether a few of them are armed and know how to use those weapons to protect the kids.
Measures like that come at a financial cost. How do you go about balancing the need for paying teachers more, for ensuring that you have the right person in front of the students, and also ensuring student safety?
You do that with what I call priority-based budgeting. You identify your priorities, and protecting our students is one of our top priorities. So yes, paying teachers is, I think, the #1 priority. A good principal maybe in each school as the educational leader might be #2, but somewhere near the top of the list you get to protecting the safety of our students. And so you just allocate the money to take care of the priorities, and you put your first money in your first priority, your second in your second, and you're going to run out of money on priority 96 or 103 or whatever it is, but you don't take money away from your top priorities to fund those, you fund your top priorities.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on now to Kelly Fryer, one of 3 Democrats who will appear on the primary ballot. Fryer is CEO of the YWCA of Southern Arizona. We asked her what she thinks the biggest issue facing Arizona is.
I think the biggest issue facing Arizona right now is that the people who are running our state government are not putting the people of Arizona first. I mean, I could talk to you about the economy, education, the environment, healthcare. I mean, we have a whole long laundry list of issues that we need to deal with. But what underlies all of them is that the people who are running our state are working for their big donors, and they're not working for the people of Arizona.
Seems that you're critical of charter schools, private institutions. What is, for the argument that has been made in the past, is the dollar follows the child. What is so wrong with tax dollars going to follow a child's education?
We're not talking about choice here. We're talking about privatization. We're talking about, in other words, we're talking about putting a dollar sign on the forehead of every kid in this state. The kids in our state have become a means for these folks to make money. Well, that's not what education is all about. You know, our democracy is founded on the idea that that we have public education and that every child in our state should have the opportunity to have the best possible education. And you don't get that out of a for-profit system. It's a public good, and it needs to be managed by the public.
The current administration has really touted some of the new policies, the tax incentives that have brought business to Arizona. Is Arizona in a strong economic state right now?
Well, some measures will tell you that Maricopa County is one of the fastest growing counties in the country. And yet here, you know, I work in Pima County, which is the poorest county of its size in the nation. So what we have is we have a real system of economic inequity, where there are a few folks, mostly in Maricopa County, who are benefiting from economic growth and development, and the other 14 counties are really struggling. I think that what we need is a 15-county economic development plan that works from the bottom up. I think that we need to be using tax incentives and tax credits not to benefit some big out-of-state company that's headquartered in another state or even in another country who wants to come here and bring more $10 jobs. I think we need to be using our public money to incentivize and to support those locally owned small businesses in all 15 counties that are really the lifeblood of our economy.
Your experience has largely been in the nonprofit sector. How do you envision transitioning into a government role where you're working directly with the public, for the public, as you said?
Well, I think this, here's the deal. As the CEO of nonprofit organizations, I've had to write budgets. I've had to manage financial reports. I've managed literally thousands of employees and staff, both paid and volunteer, in my career. I'm a CEO, and that's what the governor is. The governor is the CEO of the state. But here's the difference between the CEO that we have in that office right now, Doug Ducey, and myself. We both have CEO experience, but I've spent my entire career working for the public, being accountable to the community, being directly accountable to a board of directors that comes from the community, and doing every single thing in service to people.
Okay, Kelly Fryer, thank you so much. And that's all for now. Thanks so much for joining us. To find out what we're working on throughout the week, be sure you visit us on social media and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.